Okay, we're factoring the polynomial. The first thing that we want to do is we want to say what, just like the last problems, we want to say what is the greatest common factor? What can we pull out of both of them? And I'm going to just speed it up a little bit. You can see here that 2, 4, and 8, the biggest thing I can divide them all by is a 2. Okay? And likewise, and let me get rid of those marks so I can put the second part in the same color. Likewise, how many x's can I get equally from all of them? Well, this one is x cubed, so that can give me 3x's multiplied together. But the second term can only give me 2, and the last term can only give me 1. And we're limited to the one that can give us the least. So we can only get 1x out of there. Okay? And then this next bit of it is saying, well, so what you see here, 2x, that's the greatest common factor, but what's left? Okay? So the idea here is to say, what do we have in the parentheses? Okay. And if we divided this first term by 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we've got a coefficient of 1. And if we have 3 x's being multiplied together here, x cubed, and one of them is here out front, there's another 2 of them left inside. X squared is left inside. So since we've only got a coefficient of 1, and it says x squared, we've just got x squared. You can check to make sure that that's correct by actually multiplying them back together. 2x times x squared is 2x cubed, which is what we originally had. Now, moving on. We got to do the same thing again. And so we look over here and say, okay, if we factored a 2x out, then we've got to divide this coefficient for the second term, 4x squared. We've got to divide it by 2, because the 2 is out front. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we know that it's got a coefficient of 2. And then there are 2 x's being multiplied together, x times x, for x squared. If one of them is sitting out front, there's one left inside. So that becomes an x. So that's 2x. And you could check that by multiplying together. 2x times 2x, 4x squared. Okay? And finally, we look at this last term here and we say, that says 8x. I need to first divide it by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And there's only a single x in there. There's only a single x in that 8x term, right? 1x being multiplied. And if we took one of them sitting out front, there's none left. So then what we do is we say, okay, well then that means that that's just a constant term. And you can check 2x times 4, 8x. Okay? And if we look through, we see that that answer is indeed there as answer A. Now, eventually you're going to be factoring trinomials apart. And if you looked at this, you'll eventually learn that you actually can't break that apart. That's as factored down as it's going to go. Okay? So we've got answer 19. Now let's do the same thing for 20 and 21, but let's speed it up a little. Okay. What's the biggest thing that we can divide 25 and 35 by? Well, 25 is just 5 times 5, of course, times that w to the 6th. And 35 is 5 times 7 times w to the 3rd. Okay. So you can see that they share in common. They each have a 5. So that's what we're going to pull out front. We're going to say we've got a 5. And they could each give 3 w's. Okay, this is 6 w's multiplied together, w to the 6th. And this is 3 w's multiplied together, w to the 3rd. So they can each give 3. Okay, and we then say, okay, what's the number that's left in that first term? Well, we took a 5 out. There's another 5 left there. And if we used 3 of those 6 w's that were multiplied together, we have w cubed left. Again, you can put that back together, multiply together to check and see that it does indeed equal 25w to the 6th. And it does. Okay? And then plus, for the second term, if we divided by 5, because we pulled a 5 out front, 35 divided by 5 is the 7 that is still in there. So we've got 7. And we took all 3 w's out. There was w to the third in there, and that whole w to the third is sitting out front. So that means there's no w's left. And in fact, I've said this before in class, if every single term that's left inside the parentheses has the same variable in it, then you didn't pull enough out front or something went wrong. Okay, so the fact that this one doesn't have any more w's, just like up top, this one doesn't have any more x's, that means that's an indication that you did it right. Okay, so where do we have that answer? Let's look for it, and we see that that is B. Okay, and we got one more. If we look at these two terms on the bottom, we see that 54 and 9, those are both multiples of 9. So we can just divide a 9 right out. And then how many c's can we get from each one? Well, the first term here is is c cubed. This one's c to the fourth, but we're limited to the lower number. So c cubed is what we can pull out. And what about for the d's? Here we've got d to the fourth. Here we've got d to the second. We're limited to the lower number, so d to the second. Okay? That is what we can pull out, what's left inside. So what we need to do is we need to say, okay, this first term, we've got 54 there as the number, and we divide that by 9. 54 divided by 9 is 6. So that's the coefficient. Notice that there's c to the third here, and that's what we pulled out. So there's no more c's at all in there. You don't write any c's in there because there's none in there anymore. Okay, and it had d to the fourth here. D to the fourth, we've got 2 of those 4 d's here, so we need another 2 of them, d squared there. Okay, plus, and now let's look at the second term. We have a 9 out front, so we have to divide this by 9, and 9 divided by 9 is 1, meaning we have a coefficient of 1, which is invisible, so we don't have to show it. What about c's? We've got 3 c's pulled out, but this term, the second term, had 4 c's, so we still got a single c left in there, c. Okay, and what about the d terms? Well, we pulled d squared out, and that's exactly what that second term had, d squared, so there's no d term in there anymore. And this fits what I was saying before, which is this. Okay, if we did it right, the variable will not appear in one of the terms. So the c term does not appear in here. Likewise, the d term does not appear in here. Okay, because if they both, for example, had a c term, then that should have meant that we could have pulled another one, c out of it. So this fits with what we know. So let's see where we can find that answer. And if we look down on the bottom, 9c cubed d squared times 6d squared plus c is answer B. Done.